Tonight, I have the profound and humbling honor of hosting a fellow physician, though his practice extended far beyond the comfortable drawing rooms of London. He is the legendary missionary, abolitionist, and explorer who walked across the very heart of the Dark Continent. Welcome, Dr. David Livingstone.
I thank you kindly, Dr. Watson. It is a strange thing for a simple Scottish missionary to find himself speaking through this marvellous modern ether, but I am grateful for the shelter and the good company tonight.
The honor is entirely ours, sir. If I may start at the beginning, your life is a testament to extraordinary perseverance. I understand that before you ever saw the great Zambezi, you were a boy working 14-hour days in a cotton mill in Blantyre. How did you manage to educate yourself for the medical profession under such grueling conditions?
Aye, the spinning jenny was my first master. I would place my Latin grammar book on a portion of the spinning frame so that I could catch a sentence every time I passed by in my work. It taught me patience, Doctor, and it taught me that if a man has a true calling from Providence, he will find a way to answer it, even through the din of a factory.
Fascinating. It is that very determination that must have served you so well in the unforgiving climates of the world. As a former army surgeon who has suffered the ravages of enteric fever in Afghanistan, I know well the toll foreign lands take on the body. What drove you to forsake a safe medical practice in Britain for the uncharted interior of Africa?
It was the words of Robert Moffat, my future father-in-law, that struck my soul. He spoke of seeing in the morning sun the smoke of 1,000 villages where no missionary had ever been. Medicine was my tool, Watson, but my true purpose was to open a path for Christianity, commerce, and civilization to uplift those neglected souls.
A noble trinity of goals indeed. Yet such a calling demands a heavy personal toll. Your late wife, Mary, was born in Africa and traveled with you through incredibly harsh terrain. How did you both bear the strain of raising a family in the bush?
It was a bitter cup, Doctor. Mary was a sturdy soul, famous for roughing it without a word of complaint, but the fever and the harshness of the trail were no place for our bairns. When I realized I had to send her and the children back to England so I could plunge deeper into the interior alone, it nearly broke my heart. The isolation was the highest price I paid for my work.
I can scarcely imagine the sacrifice. You eventually became the first European to cross the African continent from west to east, discovering the magnificent falls the locals call Mossi Oanounya, which you named Victoria Falls. Did you view yourself primarily as an explorer during those years?
No, never just an explorer. The geography was entirely secondary to the true mission, finding navigable river routes for legitimate trade. I firmly believed that if we could establish honest commerce in cotton and other goods, we could undercut and destroy the abominable East African slave trade, which was bleeding the continent dry.
That trade is an absolute scourge on humanity. I know from your journals that you witnessed the horrors of the Arab slavers firsthand, particularly the dreadful massacre at Nyangwe. It must have taken a terrible toll on your spirit.
It was a scene from the darkest pit of hell, Watson. I saw hundreds of innocent women and children shot down in the river market, and I was powerless to stop it. I wrote in my diary that day that it gave me the feeling of being in hell. It was that very horror that made me resolve to expose the open sore of the world to the British public, no matter the cost to my own failing health.
Your journals certainly awakened the conscience of the Empire, but after that terrible time, you vanished into the interior. For years, the world thought you were dead. And then came the famous expedition funded by the New York Herald, led by Mr. Henry Morton Stanley. What was it like to suddenly see a Western face after so many years of silence?
I was at my lowest ebb in Ujiji, reduced to a skeleton by dysentery, out of medicine, and feeling entirely forsaken. Then, through the crowd of villagers, this determined American stepped forward, raised his hat, and said, "Dr. Livingstone, I presume?" I answered, "Yes," with a grateful heart. He brought me quinine,
news of the outside world, and most importantly, human fellowship. Dr. Livingstone, I presume, a phrase that shall live forever in history. Yet despite your illness, and despite Stanley's urgent pleas for you to return to England with him, you refused to leave. Why, sir? My work was not yet finished, Doctor. I still needed to find the true sources of the Nile, and I could not abandon the people I had sworn to help. Furthermore, I had my faithful attendants, Chuma and Susie. They were my true friends, and I trusted them implicitly to see me through to the end, whatever Providence had ordained. And they did, carrying your body and your precious journals over 1,000 miles to the coast so you could rest in Westminster Abbey. Dr. Livingstone, your courage is a beacon to us all. Thank you for sharing your extraordinary journey with us tonight. May God bless you, Dr. Watson, and may he bless all who seek to bring light to the dark places of the earth. Good evening. By Jove, what a formidable and deeply principled man. It makes one's own adventures seem rather like a stroll in Hyde Park. Thank you for listening, friends. Until next week, this is Dr. John Watson, reminding you to keep your compass true. Good night.